What's up, YouTube? So I just wanted to chop it up with you guys today. I just kind of want to elaborate on some of the stuff I said in my last video regarding putting out your first app and some of the challenges that exist with it. Everybody's gonna tell you, hey, let me teach you how to build software in 5 minutes. Let me teach you how to create your first app. Let me teach you how to launch it in the store. But one thing you're gonna find a hard time finding, and this is what I realized, is that you're gonna find a hard time finding someone who's going to be able to help you build up your marketing to sell your app. And of course, this is a rude awakening for me. This is where I hit the roadblock. I've got my app developed. I've got it launched and deployed. I've even got my user testing and so on. But the biggest challenge that I face right now as a developer and as someone who's trying to get a startup off the ground is, man, you need to have marketing. You have to have marketing. I'm learning the importance of sales now and why it is a skill, because you could be the smartest person in the room. You could be the most gifted craftsman, carpenter, whatever it is, you name it, car washer, whatever. You could put the best business, you know, in your area. And if no one knows about it, guess what? No one cares. So I think that what I learned in this journey is that most of marketing is awareness. You got guys like Coca-Cola, big companies like Pepsi and Budweiser and so on. A lot of their marketing is more so to put it in your face, to kind of like slap you with it. It's almost like when you listen to a song on the radio and you hate it, and you just hear it so many times that you eventually become programmed and you eventually start singing the words, even though you hate the song. You still hate the song, but now it's catchy, you know? So I think it's important that I make a video on my journey, trying to get stuff out. I've tried numerous outlets. I tried BetaList. I've tried Isolytics to get some more information. One thing I will say is that when you first put an app out in the Apple Store, I don't know if this is some kind of like inaugural thing that they do for every app, but they kind of like bump you up. They kind of bump you up into a visual place. I want to say within the top 20 for that first week, because that was the first thing I noticed was that my app was in the top 10 for either iPad or iPhone for the first week. And I'm like, who am I? You know what I'm saying? There's like thousands of apps out there. Not to think that I didn't think my product was good, but I'm thinking, who am I that my product got to the top 10 of Apple's list? Which is good thinking, because again, I remember hearing from one of the other bloggers that they do bump you up, and I got to feel that. And you do get sales because of that bump up, because now you're top tier, now you're in front of everybody's eyes. A week later, I got bumped down to like position 54 or 78 in the category that I'm in, which is the food and drink category for my app. And you definitely feel the drop off. There's less attention going to your site, less sales for sure. And so that becomes problematic. So now when you don't get that initial facing from Apple, now you as an entrepreneur, developer, CEO, CTO, now you got to figure it out to where, how do I get this exposed to enough people? Now, here's another thing in my journey that I realized is that not all ad platforms are the same. And I'm not just talking about CPMs and stuff like that. I'm talking about just the acceptance process. I submitted 6 different ads to TikTok and they rejected them all. I don't know why, but I believe that TikTok shadow bans anybody who just starts an account just to advertise. which to me sounds backwards. It's hustling backwards, because I don't know why you would reject a legitimate site, legitimate business, if they're paying for that attention, right? But for some reason, TikTok is mad stingy about the attention it shares, especially with new vendors or whatnot. So if someone from TikTok can come to me and let me know why all my videos got struck down, even though they didn't have offensive language, they didn't have copyright issues, it was all original material, I have no idea. But that was a huge bummer, because I missed out on an opportunity to reach over 6,000 customers, which would have helped me greatly, you know? And a person like me, if I would have saw some success, even if I see a 2% rate success or on 6,000 customers, man, I'm still getting some sales at that point. So I'm eventually gonna go to paid ads. I can't do it right now, but once I do get to the point where I can have an ad budget, I'm definitely going to put some paid ads behind it, because unless you know a social influencer who's big or you're able to pay them, I don't see how else you get your brand out there. And that's with anything. I'm not just talking about apps, because I remember I was doing e-commerce sales and stuff like that, and I ran into the same issue. And I keep forgetting this aspect whenever I try to start anything. But I swear, this is always the slap in the face. You get everything set up, you get your inventory, you get your signs, your logos, you feel amped up, you know? But nothing matters unless you have sales, guys. Nothing matters unless you have sales. That's the first thing. Second thing is, when it comes to building an app, I'm learning, again, is you need to have something else that's of value. And if you ever want to sell this thing, or if you ever want to get a nice valuation on your app. So be aware of the fact that even if you're like me, you don't want user data, you don't want to collect their data. Part of the game is information, right? Information technology. So part of the game is what data, what mass data set can I have a value that could be of value to a company? Maybe they just want the users, right? They just want the users, they want the memberships, they want to be able to grow a platform fast. Maybe it's they just want the data. You know, for my app, it's just cooking data. But imagine if it was like healthcare or something like that. Maybe they would want that data on, you know, what the average 23-year-old male diet habits look like, and so on. And if you have thousands and thousands of users, this kind of data is very valuable to a company that's trying to make a product or trying to break into a certain demographic, market, whatever you want to call it. But these are all the things that I didn't know going into building an app. And honestly, I'm glad that I did it this way, because I would have never learned any of this stuff. I would never learn any of this stuff if I would have had to sit down in front of a computer or a textbook and have to go line for line on what the steps are. I just went gun-ho, put my app out there, and everything that's been coming my way, I've been attacking, and that's pretty much how I go about it. And I'm not gonna give you guys fluff on, how I make 30K a month on apps until I'm actually doing that. What I'm doing is I'm sharing my journey with you guys. And this for me is just a way out. This is a way out the matrix. Of course, I'm still looking for work. I constantly promote my business. I put my MVP, advertisements. If you want to start MVPs, I offer up my services on Fiverr, and I definitely put out enough resumes to basically fill a building at this point, in terms of how many different times I've had to press that submit button. And yeah, it's about the same. So while things aren't hot on the job market, I'm currently just building, and I'm putting out products in hopes that one of these products hit. And that's why this is so important. It's very important to see growth. And when I tell you, it's a very defeating feeling to look up at your sales dashboard and not see sales your sales trajectory going up, it's a very defeating prospect, and it's something that it makes you look down deep inside yourself. But if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. And that's what I tell myself. If this was easy, everybody would be doing this. And I'm sorry to break the news down to you guys, but even with the knowledge of code, even with the help of AI, I don't know how you break through this barrier of marketing. I don't know how you can get an AI that's going to market your product better than you can, whether it's make content, whether it's talk about it, whether it's, you know, acquire new relationships. Until you can get an AI that can do these things for you, I'm sorry, bro. The game is still pretty even. The game is still pretty even. You got to be able to crack this cookie. And if any of you know how to crack this cookie, if you're marketers, feel free. Hit me up. Tell me what I can do. I'm always looking for input. I'm always looking to learn. I'm one of the first people that'll tell you I don't know everything. And I'm learning that you get a better response that way, instead of acting like you know it all. There's a lot of gurus out here, you know, who claim they know it all, that they can make you all this money. If that was the case, I'd be rich 10 times over. So next time you see a title like that, I really want you guys to kind of hold the people accountable. Like, it's easy to say you made that kind of money. It's harder to prove it, right? It's a lot harder to prove it. It's a lot harder to prove that you're generating that kind of money. So I would have you guys call them out. The day I start saying stuff like that, you guys call me out so I can show you my check. Because I don't believe any of these guys. I don't believe any of these guys, because when I try to recreate a lot of the things that they do, it just like, come on, man. There's no way. So if any of you guys can relate to what I'm saying, please comment, like, subscribe. I want to hear some of your struggles. If you guys are doing some of the same stuff that I'm doing, in terms of, even if you're not building an app, if you're just putting a company out there, or you're putting a product out there, and this is where you are stuck, you know, we can grow together. That's how I feel. And let's learn together, you know, each one teach one. But I'm seriously at a roadblock to where, hey, I'm reaching out to you guys, my 91 subscribers. Help me out. Let me know, what am I doing wrong in terms of marketing my app, and what I can do to get it out to the right people, the right buyers. Till then, this is the Noel Narrative. You guys be easy.